Hello, my dear friends and loved ones. This is Dana here, Dana Spirit Butterfly, ready to offer you a video on the energy and the presence of energy in your life and our collective field for the next moon cycle, lunar cycle. And the lunar cycle starts on the 20th of May here in the Southern Hemisphere. For you, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, it might be on the 19th of May. And it apexes with the full moon in Sagittarius, which is a fire sign, on the 4th of June. A little ahead of myself. And it ends with a new moon, or it completes into a new cycle, which is a Taurian cycle, on the 18th of June. And so the energy is very different for this cycle. Last cycle, there was a lot of solar eclipses, lunar eclipses, solar flares. There was a whole lot of action around communication and our relationships. Also especially true for the fact that we all transitioned, or those of us who subscribe to Mother's Day were caught up in the whirlwind of our relationship with our main or our original carer. And these types of relationships usually trigger sensations of belonging and a curiosity or a questioning around what it means for me to be in a safe relationship. And Spirit is saying that the journey of discovering what safe relationship is for ourselves is a long one for some of us, more so for some of us than others. And it is often entangled with our parental relationships or our children's relationships. Our relationships with our parents and our children often cycle through a lineage pattern, what we call in rosework a lineage pattern. And this leans us often either into the matriarchal lineage, which is basically through your mum and her mum before her, or a patriarchal lineage, which is your fathers, all the way back to the original mother and father. And when I say the original mother and father, some of us are tuned to the frequency of the earth, mother and maybe father, sun, or father, sky. Your resonance patterning and the way that you lean into these collective field ideas of mother and father is always a choice that you get to make, and is certainly one that many of us who are experiencing some remembering of maybe some discomfort from childhood, we tend to sometimes feel a sense of loyalty to our actual birth parents, and in that experience we tend to feel a little unsafe to direct the compass of our aggression or frustration from childhood towards those physical present parents, and instead work through the conversation of our relationship with the earth mother and father sky or father sun. These energies are symbolic, if you will. They are space holders or patterning system to allow us to dialogue a little more deeply with our own personal trauma, so that we may stand with a little bit more of an awareness of ourselves without the complications of the real life relationship that we have. Because while we're incarnated, we do have certain structures in our systems, emotional experiencing, mental mind mapping systems that sometimes lead to us believing that in order to feel our feelings from our childhood, the denser ones, the ones that feel like abandonment or feel like some other traumatic pattern, some grief pattern in your system, anger or aggression, for example, those types of feeling senses directed at our actual parents that we love sometimes can feel a little bit harsh. And we may have a competing program that we're given that basically says that to direct that level of emotional distress at our parents is not okay. And in the now moment, in the physical presence moment, when you're feeling feelings, what's not okay is if you don't recognize and acknowledge the feelings. And we're mentioning this because the last cycle brought up a lot of grief for a lot of people, and some of you are still in the pattern of abandoning yourself by denying that that feeling is there and pushing it back under into the unconscious, where it acts out in our shadow, acts out in our unconscious. And the acting out in the unconscious part is the part that genuinely impacts your feelings of safety. If you have parts of you that are not feeling safe to be expressed, those things will always linger. Those things will always act as a point of magnetism to attract to you certain senses and feelings that will remind you of those things until they are addressed, until you make them matter. And, you know, there's a saying in The Little Prince, the book The Little Prince, that I really like, that, you know, aligns me quite nicely with my rose work. And it says something along the lines of, it's the time that you dedicate to your rose that makes her most valuable. And in that, we, spirit, me, your ancestors, want to recognize that the incarnation structure that we have that basically leaves us with these minds that play games to keep us safe, and games is maybe not the right word, but it creates facades in order to keep us safe. And it creates those facades as a survival strategy. It does that to keep us available for our relationships so that we don't injure them, so that we don't injure those carers who are there to provide for us. Because the understanding is, as you're a child, is that if you act in a way that injures your parents, they cut you off from things that you either want or need. They have that power, they have that availability. And as children, we don't have a powerful voice in the same way that we do once we're emancipated from our parents, and once we become adult, once we start to remember that while we are in our own place, with our own place of employment, being able to provide for ourselves financially, the relationships that we have with our parents change. It's no longer about survival, it's now more about care. And back then, when we're little, when we're learning about this care stuff in family situations, a lot of that comes through the lens of our parents who are in that space of looking for care. They're looking for care because they are providing. They're looking for care because they're doing work. They're looking for care because they are sacrificing their personal time to take care of something external to them that is perhaps a little out of control or less able to be controlled than they would like. And so this paradigm is offered to us as children, that it's unsafe for us to judge our parents, and it's unsafe for us to have a perspective that might injure them. And so that program in itself sometimes does underlie a lot of the reasons why you may not be able to access your, what I call deeper well, which is basically your ability to sense, feel reality. Your authentic ability to sense, feel what is actually going on. And this makes you blind to your potential. It makes you blind to what is available for you that might support and nurture you, that might provide some elation in your system so that you might feel a little bit more powerful. Now, we offer this dialogue. Spirit is explaining to me, we're offering this dialogue to you so that you might gain better insight, maybe have a new look at an old problem with a new lens. We're also here because the next moon cycle is going to be a bit low in energy. It's interesting that the journey of the soul is an independent one, and we all do have our own interactions with the magnetic resonance field that holds us all together as a collective consciousness. So what that translates in is the magnetic influences of the astral field, of the, big astrological movement patterns of the planetary systems. It impacts us all a little differently according to where our birth charts lie. Now, I'm not an astrologist, I don't pretend to be, but I do know that where your birth portal is geographically located does impact your energy differently. And when you move around and when you choose to be somewhere else, your energy will shift. And this is also true with your home environment. You will notice it especially when you go on holidays. Which, if you ever feel that sense of building need to be somewhere else right now, sometimes you've got to listen to that. Sometimes you've got to put your shoes on and get out the door. The movement pattern also allows us a fresh look at our perspective. And so when the energy gets a bit denser, a little bit heavier, a little bit quieter, which it will post an eclipse season, you'll find that the energy here will be a little bit more personal. It'll be a little bit more specific to you. And with the fire energy of the full moon, some of you will do well with it and some of you won't. And what really matters during a full moon period is your ability to stay grounded and present in your energy field. If you have a lot of insight as an adult and very little awareness of what your experience was as a child, your ability to hold yourself accountable to your sense feeling will be limited. What that means is that if you're not already in some level of dialogue with your inner child, that part of you that needs voicing and that part of you that is you at your purest energy, then you will find that the full moon does tend to pull your energy a little outwards, a little bit into everybody else's field. And you may lose sense of yourself, and you can't harness the potential of the energy there to assist you move energy forwards. So sometimes we need to get outside of our backyard and move out into the jungle or somewhere else completely unknown to us in order to get some fresh eyes. And so we are encouraging you with this new cycle, with this next moon cycle that ends on the 18th of June. Sorry, I had a little bit of a block there. At the end of the cycle, you will feel better if you do make sure that you have some time to yourself and you are dropping into your center to have a good listen as to what you're feeling, sensing, and you allow whatever it is that is there to move through you. When we say move through you, we're talking about eradicating this false belief that when you feel emotions, you get stuck there. Because we are creatures in a cyclic pattern. We actually aren't able to get stuck anywhere. The feeling of stuckness comes from usually the disallowance of listening to what is truly there. And so if you do need some support with that, if you're having difficulty voicing what it is that's inside of you, my sessions do include processes where we can deep dive into something that allows you to voice that part of you. I don't just do readings, although readings are my specialty. They're actually what I'm really good at. So if you would like to book a session, you just need to go to my website, which is www.dana-spirit-butterfly, D-A-N-A, spiritbutterfly.com. And there's a book now button, and you just need to make sure that you select your right time zone. I also want to say that this moon cycle as a quiet movement is actually leading into something new. So there is a shift into something else that is coming for all of us. Spirit is reminding me that the Northern Hemisphere is heading towards the summer solstice, which is known as Litha on the Celtic wheel of the year. The Southern Hemisphere, we're moving into Yule, which is the winter solstice. And so the summer solstice is an expansive energy. And so the energy in the Northern Hemisphere is very much about starting to become more vocal and become more active in your own energetic system. And this will mean that you will want to get outside more and you will want to spend more time up later in the day doing more fun things, and energy generally rebounds quite a lot during this period of time. With the solstice in the Southern Hemisphere, there's the opposite happening. There's a lot more introspection and a lot more inner dialogue that is available, and there's a lot more quiet in the energy field that is our collective grid. And the quiet can be useful for down-regulating, basically relaxing, repairing, restoring. If you have difficulty feeling your body and being in your own presence, you will find that during this period of time, you will get a lot of mental mind chatter. And the mental mind chatter can feel destabilizing for some of you. I actually do have a program that's really great for people in that situation who may need a little bit more support to be able to find their sacred voice inside. And it's called the Rose Program, which is a one-on-one coaching program between you and me. And if that interests you, then please email me. I would really love to have a chat with you about that, give you some information. is down-regulating is something that, particularly because the information superhighway, the internet, and our available online profiles are getting more expanded. There's a lot more information out there. There's a lot more communities out there online. We really are disconnecting from the physical grid way more than is healthy. And we're all doing it. And in a fashion, you can argue that as a creature of evolution, we are evolving to get better at being online. And in a fashion, yes, and in a fashion, no. There's a certain amount of adaptation that we can make as creatures of evolution, but this adaptation does take time. And at the moment, the shifts of the information superhighway, the ability to be online and to do all things and to be great and in communities without actually getting out of your pajamas, that is increasing. There's a lot more energy out there, and so too in the astral field. There's a lot more instability potential out there. There's never been a better time for us to learn, because of the information availability, about our physical bodies and what it is that our physical bodies need from us in order for us to feel a sense of care and physical safety in our own healing experience. And so I'm going to end this video just by asking you, if you're still listening, thank you for listening, is to take steps to prioritize your physical well-being and to make that a sacred duty of life for you, and encourage others to take care also of them, for their physical selves, by giving them space to do that. We don't generally tell people how to live their lives, but we do encourage them to be supportive of themselves by being understanding when they ask us to give them some space around something. So coming up for the next Sacred Rose Circle is also the celebration of Yule and Litha. So the topic is unwinding the facade to voice the feminine. And I'm very excited about it. I feel like this is a really special circle. So if you are a womb holder, meaning that you are a woman in possession at birth with a womb, you are welcome to join us. We are very happy to be your guide and of support to you as you move through some of the potentials that you have available to you to voice yourself more grounded, more present in your body, and more available for a robust feminine life. What that means, there's a lot of information there on YouTube on my channel if you would like to look into more. Otherwise, you can check out the Sacred Rose Awakening YouTube channel. There's some more information on that. I feel like we're done. So have a great moon cycle, my friends. I do wish you a beautifully rejuvenating time across this next cycle. We will be back in tune with you for the next one, which is a little bit more powerful than this one. So many blessings to you, dear friend, beloved. Spirit world loves you. We love you. Please take care of yourself. Okay, until next time. See you.